Three, two, one, and we're live. Scott Bayliss out here. Come on, come on. What are you saying? You good?
Good.
How you been keeping, man? You been doing a workout this morning, yeah?
Doing a workout this morning. Nothing too major. You know, I hurt my back in October, innit?
Really?
So, yeah, really bad. So I can't really lift weights or anything like that anymore. It's just like the elastic band, you know, the band workout. Just a little thing, just to get the blood flowing in my back. Try and do mornings. Yeah, get me ready for the day of not going outside.
What's the back injury, man? Because I fucked my like my lower back a little bit, like
Yeah.
around like the back of the hip bone kind of thing, man. And like back injuries are like the worst. You know what I mean? They're the worst because they affect everything.
Of course, because we need our back for everything. You know what I mean? It was back in October. Like I've always had problems with my back, innit? Going for like 5 years now. I think it stems from training, and I was one of that guys that's always trained but never really stretched. So I think that kind of caught up with me. And then back in October, like the muscles in my back kind of cramped up so bad that I couldn't even walk.
Wow.
So like I couldn't walk. I was like laying on the floor. Like my mum had to like rub my back because I literally couldn't get up in it. So like, yeah, it really affected me in it. So since then, I haven't really been training like I used to, like doing weights and stuff. I tried going back onto the weights, but it was messing up my back, man. So I just thought, you know what, lockdown, let me just have time off training like that, and just try and focus on other areas of training to help the back. Because I went to a physio and he said, he didn't really say much, if I'm being honest. He just looked at my back. He's like, oh yeah, like it's strong and yeah, you should be able to train. I said, oh, it hurts, innit? It hurts. He said, yeah, just try and go back steady, not doing as much as you did before. Hopefully, you know, it's okay right now, innit? But you never know, innit?
Yeah, man, you got to be careful, especially, man, you're a big guy, like, you know, tall people, like, have more back problems. Like, my family, I got some tall people in my family who've had back problems, like, got to look after it.
We're always, like, crouching down, innit? Even now, I need to, like, relax. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
It's a problem for us, bro.
Yeah, but it's good, I guess, like you were saying, that this time is important for rest, you know what I mean? I think in so many ways, like this pandemic, you know, the silver lining is that it's allowing people to have that rest and reflect on things. Like you were saying, like that's sick that you've been doing some writing and stuff, man, like, because otherwise you might not have just had the time for that, do you know what I mean?
Like it's always good, especially doing acting as well. Obviously, because of this, you can't really, everything shut down, innit? So it's always good to sharpen your tool, if you know what I mean. It's always good to work on your craft. And for years, I've always wanted to do writing, innit? And I always thought to myself, oh, maybe I'll do it eventually one day, but I don't really know. And it's all of this and that. But thanks to you, I told you, you and your brother, big up Timon. Let me big up Timon. But thanks to you two, like, it just made me think, raw, like, you guys are making 6 stories, you know what I mean? If you guys can do it, then I can do it as well, innit? And I remember Noel Clark, I saw something about Noel Clark and he said, listen, if you want to get into writing, just write. Like, you just, even if you got a little idea, I thought to myself, years ago, I thought, I need to do a big mind map of everything that I want to do and all the characters and everything like that. But then I just feel that when you start writing, my mind, it just goes on a tangent and I just keep on thinking about new things. And then obviously you got time to reflect on what you wrote and then properly go into detail about certain things. But, you know, as long as you got the meat there on the page, then you can cut the fat.
Yeah, man. Like the hardest thing sometimes is just getting them words on the page. Like no matter what ideas you might have, it's like, yeah, something like it's, you know, or you know, if you get writer's block or, you know, there's so much that can prevent you from just writing for like so many reasons. And I think it's good that you're doing that and stuff, because I think also this whole pandemic thing is also it's so distracting as well. So I've heard some people say like it can actually get in the way of your creative practice, because some people feel like so much pressure to be using the time valuably that like actually, yeah, it's like it's difficult to actually sit down and do stuff because it's just such a distracting time right now, isn't it?
Like the first couple of weeks of lockdown, I was looking, obviously, that's the problem with social media, you know, because on social media, everyone's like, you know, we need to be better on ourselves at this time. You know, if you want to be writing, you better write something down, you better do something because we're never going to get this time again. And it's just like, shut up. Do you know what I mean? Like, just do you, innit? Just do what makes you happy. Like, you don't need to pressure yourself, because when you pressure yourself, that's when you're causing stress upon your own body. And even if you are creating work and it's causing you stress upon your own body, that's not really beneficial, is it? You know what I mean? So that was me. Like, at the first few weeks of lockdown, I was thinking I really need to write, but I just don't know what to do. And then I just let it go. I woke up one morning and I had like 3 ideas, and I just started writing. And then I remember that whole week, there was a whole week in this lockdown period, I was just writing consistently. And all those ideas just flooded in because I just relaxed and just thought, you know, it's not that deep, innit? If I think of an idea, I'm not even writing. Obviously, I'm writing to the sense that obviously I'm an actor. I want to be in these. I put myself in a lot of scripts that I write, but at the same time, I'm writing because I enjoy it. Innit? It's like a nice escape. It's an escape of reality in a way, and yeah, it's fun, innit?
Yeah, man. And like, yes, it's good for the imagination. But I think what you said there is just so important as well, because it's actually like, it's so important to be relaxed, isn't it? Like, when there's pressure on your shoulders, like it will make the writing process, it won't make it an enjoyable experience, man. It'll make it stressful, man. It's like the same with sports, isn't it? Like, if you're playing with tension, you're not going to be on your A game, isn't it? Like the top players, I'm sure they get in this mindset of relaxation and focus. But I think another point there as well is that, like, boredom is important, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, for me personally, most of my creative ideas come when I'm bored, bro. Like, you know, like, even for this lockdown, I spent the first month not doing very much, man, just allowing myself to be bored. And then, like you say, sometimes it will just be like you wake up one day and you're ready to go. Do you know what I mean?
Because the ideas are always kind of in your head, but sometimes it just needs a time when you take a second, you take a breath, and that's when it all comes in. Because yeah, especially with but like you said, in sports and in anything, you know what I mean, pressure in anything, like in today's world with social media and everything like this, everyone is trying to tell you, oh, you need to do this to be a better person, you need to do this to be a better person, but we're all different people, innit? We're all different people. And then if we keep on saying it, it's going to cause a problem to us. Do you know what I mean? We keep on talking about mental health and stuff like that, but I'm still seeing the same thing over and over again, innit? And we just need to relax and just let people, if people want to do this with their career, if people want to do that, then that's what they're doing, innit? Everyone's running their own race. Like, you don't have to be like the tortoise and the hare, innit? You know, like, everyone's running their own race. You don't have to, everyone's running their own. As long as you finish, that's the main thing. Whoever finishes first, it doesn't matter, as long as you finish.
The first will be last and the last will be first, bro. Come on. But yeah, man, I mean, bro, social media, bro, like, wow, like, that's something that I love to talk to you about, because I feel like firstly, like, the amount of social media activity must have just skyrocketed due to the pandemic anyway. Yeah. And I think one of the things that's actually talking about how boredom is a good stimulant for creativity. I think one of the problems with social media is it prevents you from getting bored a lot of the time. It's like there's a constant flow of information going around. There's the fear of missing out and fear of being left out if you're not on it. And I think social media and phones have really replaced like boredom in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's like it distracts us. It's like we want to be focusing on something rather than ourselves, sort of thing. And like, yeah, man, even it's crazy, even with, you know, what's happened, you know, just yesterday with the Blackout Tuesday thing and stuff. And it's like, people are so active on social media right now, isn't it? Like, how are you navigating that?
It's hard, bro. Like, it's like you said, it's like you wake up and the first thing you do is you go on social media, you go on your phone. You don't wake up and that's the first thing you do. That's before you shower. That's before you say hi to your mom. That's before you do anything, you know? And it's become, we need to really think about that, because we love talking about mental health. We love talking about things like that, but that's really affecting us. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be to that extent where if we can't find our phone for a hot second, we get really agitated. You know, we feel like our arm is, we've lost our arm. Because that's what it is in a way. You know, our hands, you know, we can look at our hands, how they are like formed is getting to the point where they're just like this all the time. You know, I've held my phone so much that it gets to a point that my hand hurts because I'm holding it too much, innit? And the other thing about social media is there's a lot of people that say a lot of crazy things on there, like what's been happening recently, and it just shows you what type of people are in the world, innit? You know, like before social media, obviously you got the newspapers and everything like that, but social media is another type of media outlet now that is showing us how people around the world really think, you know, because yeah, you know what I mean, there's people like, just for instance what John Boyega said, you know, the other day about fuck racist white people, and you got a lot of people on that post like, he didn't actually say what he said. Everyone should think, you should think fuck racist, you should think fuck racist white people. Is that not common sense? But you see a lot of people on there not understanding their white privilege, not understanding, and it's just crazy, man. It's a crazy world. It's an evil world we live in. It's a crazy world we live in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And yeah, with everything that's going on in America, man, like because I think, yeah, you mentioned mental health, and it's so weird that we have this constant discourse and dialogue about mental health online and on social media, you know, the places that aren't actually that healthy for mental health. Like I think what's really interesting as well is how it actually affects Black people's mental health when an incident like this happens, you know, because I know immediately, bro, like as soon as I hear about something like this, my mental health immediately like takes a dip. Do you know what I mean?
Because it's not like an isolated incident. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in school and stuff like that, we're taught about, well, kind of taught about racism and, you know, Black history and whatnot, but they try and make it seem like it is history, like it's not happening. I can look in my own lifetime. Do you know what I mean? George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Sarah Reid, Trayvon Martin, Mark Duggan. You know, this is all in my lifetime. Do you know what I mean? And this is police brutality, and this has been happening. Do you know what I mean? This has been happening for decades. This has been happening for centuries. Do you know what I mean? And it's not just police brutality. You've got the media as well. The media have a big part to play, especially in this country. I feel like how they're documenting all of this with America, it feels like they're saying, oh, this is what's happening in America. But, you know, it's not us over here. We're not like that. It's like they've forgotten what they did to people like Meghan Markle. They've forgotten what they've done to people like Raheem Sterling, or before that, like Ashley Cole. They've forgotten about when there was a lot of killings going on in London and all around the UK as a Black problem. Because obviously Black skin is the reason why people pick up a knife. You know, the government is why you're forgetting about, you know, how they treat the Windrush generation. You know, and it takes a toll, because you sit down and you think to yourself, like, this has been happening all throughout my life, you know? Like, are my children are they gonna have to go through this as well? You know, it gets to that point, like, you just have to deep it. It's crazy, man.
But one of the things that like personally affects me a bit as well, that I'm still struggling to kind of wrestle with, is like you're saying, this didn't just happen the other day. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this has been going on for a long time. And I think one of the issues that I sometimes take on my mental health is like the amount of energy and rallying that happens when there's an incident like this, yeah, that is gone tomorrow. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like the amount of energy and support that you get in these isolated cases, yeah. And it's like, you feel a bit of like, you feel a bit upset that it sometimes it feels like the support and the kind of virtue signaling is kind of like this temporary thing, like where it takes, like one of my mates put it really well, it's like it takes a Black death for you, man, to start saying Black Lives Matter. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes someone to die before you start caring about Black life. It's like, this is something that's ongoing, bruv.
Well, like, yeah, the biggest thing people can do is they just need to keep this energy with them throughout their life, innit? Like, throughout what they're doing in their day-to-day life. Because hopefully that's what the protests are gonna achieve, innit? I'm hopeful, innit? I'm hopeful that it seems like on social media, a lot of people are coming together. I don't think I've ever seen people come together to this extent on social media before. But then, how long has social media been around about? But, do you know what I mean? But I just feel like, yeah, people need to keep this energy with them. So when you're talking to your friends and someone says a race joke, or, you know, people with white privilege, you know, white people with white privilege, how are you going to use that privilege? You know, are you going to call out things when you see things happening? You know, are you gonna flip it the other way? Like what happened in Central? Did you see that thing that happened in Central Park with there was a woman, she had a dog in it in Central Park,
Oh
and they were
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
lead. And then a black man said calmly, you know, can you put the dog on a lead, because I think it was illegal because there was birds in the park and he was like a bird watcher or something like that. And then she got really mad at him, you know, and she said, I'm gonna call the police and say there's an angry African American man. And she called the police, and she said it, but she said it in such a tone, you know, she was acting. She won an Oscar that day. You know what I mean? And that's how white people can use their white privilege in that negative way. I feel like a lot of white people will say, you know, oh, I'm not racist, but when the moment comes for certain people to show their true colors, that's when certain people show their true colors. Because sometimes I feel like, and then when people are talking about white privilege like I am now, a lot of people will try and flip it on you, saying, oh, well, you're the one being racist, you're being anti-white. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
The thing with social media for me as well is that, like, because I'm trying not, I don't want to be too harsh, man, because I understand that a lot of people are uneducated, they're ignorant to a lot of the history of racism and whatnot. But one thing that does just concern me about this, like, social media activism is that, like, it's like you're saying, innit, like, there's things you can be doing in your own life or on a day-to-day. Like, I would rather you not post anything on social media during this time. And that's not me being anti, look, I know the support on social media has its place, but it's like, I would almost rather you not post. Like, why do you need to show the world that you're in solidarity with something when you can just be in solidarity with something on a day-to-day with, like, what you're in, how you're interacting? If you got black mates, go send them a message, be like, how you doing? Like, this is deep. Like, sometimes I get a bit, like, concerned with this, like, how social media has created this desire to appear as if you're, you know, on the good team, you know.
That's the world we live in. Like, everyone's showy, you know, everyone. That's the problem with social media. That's the problem with people today. We want to show that we're doing something without actually doing it. You know, we got a car. Okay, let me show everyone I got the car. We got this. We're going to show everyone we got this. And, you know, I'm not saying I haven't done that. We've all done that. You know what I mean? Because that's how our minds are being conditioned, you know, to act like we're the guy. You know what I mean? That we care about the situation. But you will know is everyday life, innit? And I will not know if you carry it with you everyday life. You will not know if I do. We're the only people that know, innit? If we're actually going to do it. And when the situation arises, like I said, how are you going to use, you know, not just white people, but just everyone? How are we going to interact with each other? How are we going to talk to each other, you know? Are we going to be kind of each other? It's simple things when you think about it. It's just being nice to each other, treating people with respect, treating people with love, innit? But it's not, you know, I mean, this has been happening for how long now? Do you know what I mean? This is like 400 years of black oppression. Do you know what I mean? I feel like people would have got the message by now. You know, happening in my mom's lifetime. This is happening in my granddad's lifetime. It's just, boy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there are, and, you know, and credit to the people who have been, because this is the thing, you know, all this pressure on white people or whatever as well. It's like, well, actually, like, white people have been allies from the days of slavery. Like, it's kind of mad. A lot of people forget that actually, like, there were obviously a small minority, but there have been white people in history who have always been anti-slavery and anti-black oppression. Obviously, we don't hear as much about them. But I think that's, yeah. And for me, like, another thing for me with this whole thing is, like, I almost feel like you're almost in a weird way, like, black people, like, you don't feel any pressure to even comment or do anything right now, because, like, white on black racism is a white people's problem. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's in a lot of ways, it's their responsibility to sort out what it is that causes that form of oppression onto ethnic minorities and whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, black people have done so much, yeah, to this day. Like, so many, so much scholarship, so many books in academia, so much activism, man. Like, the civil rights movement, so much stuff has been done by black people to try and educate the wider world about racism. I do feel like, to alleviate some mental health issues from black people, there should be that little bit of a burden taken off them to feel like they need to be standing up all the time when something like this happens. It's like, I think there's something positive about white people coming up and standing up now and being like, yo, like, this shit's got to end. You know what I'm saying?
That's what you see. Like, you can see it seems like a lot of people are coming together. Do you know what I mean? It seems like you see all the, I'm talking about social media, and that's how much social media is in my mind, but it's not black against white, it's everyone against racists. White privilege is connected to racism, you know what I mean? To understand white privilege, you have to understand racism. Like, racism, it's a power construct created by white nations to deny black people an equal way of life. Now, that doesn't mean all white people are racist. All white people are not racist, but all white people have privilege. You know what I mean? Racism, it's not controlled by black people. It's controlled by institutions. It's controlled by institutions that are controlled by white people, and has been controlled by institutions that are controlled by white people. So, but then that's what I'm saying, when a black person speaks out about it, he's anti-white. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's aggressive. He's all these things. It's like, whenever a black person speaks out, he's an extremist. Do you know what I mean? And then you see things like the riots happening and stuff like that, and people wonder why they're happening. People are wondering why it's happening. But when people like Colin, what's his last name? Colin Kaepernick, the American footballer, when he took the knee to protest, they were saying that's wrong. When Martin Luther King in Selma, they were saying that's wrong. When people were marching in South Africa for apartheid, they were saying that's wrong. There's never going to be a right way to protest, because that's what a protest is. Like, it's never going to be called right by the system it's protesting against. So I don't know. There's so many layers to this onion, man. There's so.
And I think that you hit the nail on the head early on there as well, just saying that.
I swear I just said that it's just recording.
Oh yeah, sketching out a bit. But yeah, so I think what you said there about white privilege, man, is essentially does not mean that all white people are racist. You know what I mean? It just means that historically there's been an unequal playing field. But yeah, man, it's crazy. I think what would be really interesting to hear as well is how you felt in the acting world, doing what you do so well, and how if ever you've had incidents where you feel like you're being stereotyped for a role, because that's all connected to the same system of racism, really, isn't it?
Yeah, plenty of times. There's plenty of times I've applied for a role in the past and they're only looking for a Caucasian man to play the lead man. There's plenty of times people have messaged me about short films and whatnot, and the role they want me to play is the black role. They want me to be in the back. I think Daniel Kaluuya said it one time. You can tell it's like a lamp role. Like, in a room, you've got a lamp, and the lamp is just there in the corner. It's a lamp role in a script. Do you know what I mean? So they want me to be there, be the big black man, and just be there. You know what I mean? I think, especially in this country as well, in England, it feels like, the ceiling is getting broken down, but it feels like there is a ceiling of how far you can go before you have to go to America. Now, obviously, I know America, Hollywood, is massive. But when you got people like John Boyega, Daniel Kaluuya, Damson Idris, Letitia Wright, Malachi Kirby, when you got all these people and they all had to go to America to really, really establish themselves, you got to ask yourself what's going on. And I think it's because a lot of the productions, it's obvious, do you know what I mean? A lot of the productions aren't really championing them, aren't showing them at their full ability, that they have to go to, like Idris Elba, do you know what I mean? Idris Elba had to go to do The Wire, and then Idris Elba comes back, okay, you've done The Wire now, you've proved yourself, we'll give you Luther. Is yeah, it's crazy, man. It's great. That's another thing why I try, and I'm not too worried about, like, a few years ago I was worried about trying to get auditions and trying to land this role, but I feel like, especially in Bristol, we have a great community of creatives, and I feel like something special is happening in Bristol. Like, our generation is a very special generation, and I feel like we can really do something special. So that's why I'm trying to create these scripts, so eventually it can break us up, because Bristol in itself as well, everyone knows about Bristol. It's hard to break out of Bristol. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to break out of Bristol, and people around the country, they don't really know about Bristol. You know what I mean? They don't really know what life is like in Bristol. When I remember I'm going to London to do bits and bobs, and I remember people were saying to me, "What, have you even got black people in Bristol?" They said, "Oh, I thought, you know, you're gonna be a farmer." Like, I thought, "Oh, what's going on in Bristol? What, is Bristol even a city?" I thought it was like a little town. People don't really know about Bristol, so I feel like we Bristolians. Now, Class, you in that as well. You know, you're a Bristolian as well. You know, you've done a lot of work in Bristol. I feel like we have a great opportunity right now, to do something special.
Yeah, man. And you think part of that breaking the ceiling is that DIY approach? Like, if the industry for whatever reason isn't going to give you them opportunities, you've got to create them yourself a little bit.
Definitely, man. That's how all of it starts. Do you know what I mean? Look how many of the black actors from the 90s in stuff like Boys in the Hood, Men's to Society, all of those kind of films. Look at what a lot of them are doing now. They had to kind of create those films together, and it's funny with those kind of films. There's always the same people in the films that they use. You know what I mean? There's always the kind of big. It just feels like a family. It feels like a collective unit. It's kind of like what Scorsese does with his films. You know, he's always using the same kind of people. I would like to think that it would be like not just the actors and actresses, but behind in the post-production as well. And that's kind of what I want to, that's what I would hope is going to happen. Well, I feel like it's happening in Bristol right now. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I've worked with you a lot. I've worked with Timon a lot. And I feel like that's something we have to do. Because we can do it, innit? We can do it. It's not like years and years ago when you couldn't do it. We have the technology now. You could shoot something good even on an iPhone. Look how much technology is changing, which is a positive thing. So we can do anything.
Yeah, man. And I think it's nice. I think you're right, man. Bristol is a real nice tight knit community, and I think sometimes things just take time, you know. Like, America's a massive country. It's got a massive economy. Like, in you know, obviously LA is a big place for film. New York has its own thing for film. They attract more attention than other places, but because there's just more people, things maybe grow a little bit easier even in the smaller places. But the other thing that I think is really interesting as well is obviously me and Timon have enjoyed working with you a lot. But what's nice as well is to be able to, like, you know, if you're a person of color, you know that actually you don't have to write. If you want a person of color in your film, the role doesn't have to be a role specifically for a person of color. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, in like something like Headspace, that Timon made, like, I think that's sick, because that could just be a role for any actor in a way. But it doesn't like, nothing like takes away from the film that it's just you in the role. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's how acting should be, isn't it? That pure creative, adaptive kind of art form that really, like, you. And also, I mean, obviously you're talented, so you can mold yourself into whatever role you're asked. You know what I mean? I think that's a really important thing for an actor to have, to be able to like fall into whatever role, despite their appearance, man, because as you all know, acting is such a shallow industry, and it is all about appearances, but the top actors are able to kind of cleverly navigate that. Do you know what I mean?
Especially in like TV is talented to do that. Like in theatre, I feel like there's a bit of space. You know, you don't have to be, you know, it's very rare that in TV you would have maybe a man playing a woman or a woman playing a man, which something we kind of need to get over. Something we need to just if the role is there, you can play it. I think in theatre, you have a lot. Is a lot more. You can do more things. Do you know what I mean? It's more playful in that aspect. But in TV, it feels like this is the brief of what it is. This is what we're looking for, and this is what it is. Which we need to, like you were saying, we need to try and change, and that works with actors and actresses, and just being open, and just going into the room and just feeling like they can do it, they can own it. You know what I mean? Like you were saying before about America obviously is a bigger country and whatnot, and that's maybe why the process was a bit quicker over there. But I just feel like from Kidulthood went out to Blue Story now, I feel like that process could have been quicker in a sense. I feel like it was shut down. You know, it went to Kidulthood, adulthood, then you had another hood, and then it felt like there was a period of time. I know Top Boy came out as well, but then Top Boy got shut down. It just feels like a lot of doors keep on getting closed. But it feels like right now with Top Boy coming back and Blue Story, and everything Rapman's doing, it feels like those doors are opening again. Do you know what I mean? That, you know, young kids, they're gonna go to the cinema, and they're gonna see people like them, and it's all about representation, isn't it? Like if I didn't see Kidulthood, I don't know if I would want to be doing acting. Seeing Kidulthood just made me think, wow, like they're not even from America, like they're from the UK. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I say, it's all about representation, because in Bristol, is there that kind of Bristol, like we've had Bristol short films and stuff like that, but on that level of you can go to the cinema. Imagine like going to school in Fairfield or City Academy and all these places, and you go to the cinema and you're seeing a film about people from Bristol, and they're talking about, you know, Eastern Whitehall, St. Paul's, you know, wherever. Do you know what I mean? They're talking about places that, you know, they're walking down the street, and it's an actual film. That would be crazy for Bristol. You know what I mean? That would be crazy for Bristol. That would be crazy for the UK. But like I said, it's just all about representation. Because that's what I felt like when I was growing up. I was seeing stuff from obviously Kidulthood in London. They had One Day. I don't know if people know One Day. One Day was in Birmingham. Sick film. There's so many films, but I feel like to get to that level of going to the cinema, and that would be big for Bristol, man. Like that would be big for Bristol, and that's like I think about all the time. Like that's like a dream just for Bristol, for us to really break out. And then once the doors opened a little bit in Bristol, then you'll see loads more people breaking out. Like you see what happened in Manchester, Bugsy Malone. Bugsy Malone's broken out of Manchester. Manchester is the place now. Like Manchester was always obviously Manchester, but you know, since Bugsy Malone broke out of Manchester, and then it's funny, you got like Boohoo is in Manchester. You got is Misguided in Manchester? I feel like they got JD in Manchester. You know, things are popping off in Manchester. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I'm just hopeful that this generation of Bristolians, you know, not just black, you know, black, white, Asian, you know, but you know, people from the area. Do you know what I mean? People, yeah. I just hope that we can break free.
Mm. And I guess it, you know, the onus is on people who do, you know, come from somewhere like Bristol, like, and I'm sure you would, you know, if you got to a certain level, you would be coming back and investing in Bristol. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's an important thing. But I wanted to ask you quickly, what was it like working with Bugsy Malone, bro?
Oh, that was mad. Still, that was mad.
The video got taken down, innit?
Yeah, it got taken down because we had guns in it. Well, no, not real. They weren't obviously real guns, but then they had to edit out the gun. It was funny because a few months before that, I was at Euston and I saw him there, innit? I saw him like on Euston. He was on the phone. I'm not really like, I don't get fanboy, but I was like, raw, like, because the thing about Bugsy Malone, I did a play back in 2013 in Bournemouth. My brother Joe, big up Joe, and Joe's from Manchester. And I think it was maybe 2012. It was like 20. It was a while ago, and this was before Bugsy was big. And we were talking about music people, and I was talking to him about people from Bristol, and he was talking to me about people from Manchester, and he was like Bugsy Malone. So I was like, rah, like, yeah, okay, he's actually hard. So I was following him from then. And then when he started blowing up with Charlie Sloth and everything like that, I was like, wow, that's inspiring. So then I saw him at Euston, I was like, rah, okay then. And I just went up to him and I said, yeah, I rate you, I got a bit fanboy, innit? And then a few months after, my brethren Joe, the same brethren, he obviously, because he knows them people from Manchester, he was like, oh, do you want to come up in a music video? Manchester is Bugsy Malone. And yeah, man, it was calm still. It was good. Like their whole team was good. Like the whole team professional, everything like that. And it was fun. It was fun, innit? Just meeting people, innit? That's what it's about. Just meeting creative people, traveling around. Obviously, like I've been saying, trying to empower Bristol, but at the same time, it's good to get out there, take what we learned, bring it back. You know what I mean? And just, man, it was great.
Definitely, man. Yeah, no, but Bugsy Malone is what he's done is impressive, and I would fanboy out if I saw him as well. So
I was kind of stuttering, bro. Like when I was like, yeah, my brethren Joe told me like yeah. But
and what's mad as well, I was mad surprised. Like I watched Guy Ritchie's new film, The Gentleman.
Yeah.
And that was mad creative, man. I was so happy to see Bugsy now flexing his acting muscles and but creatively his music being weaved into there. Like I thought that was genius, man.
Yeah, he said that in a bar, innit? He said, when Guy Ritchie asked him to be in a film or something like that, and I didn't really clock what it was until the film came out, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And yeah, he was a sick actor in that, and there was a lot of great talent in that film as well.
Yeah, man. The last thing I just want to ask you as well is you mentioned like Kidulthood and Up to Blue Story now, and obviously like we're all a big fan of that stuff, man. It's important. Like, America's had that, they've shown the grimy, gritty side of like urban black culture or whatever. Do you ever like worry that like that's because obviously look, it's divisive, people have all sorts of opinions, but to what extent do you think them kind of images being the sole thing that black people get to make creates that kind of stereotype perpetuation?
Yeah, I think that people really need to I understand what people are saying. Why is there not more films of maybe black people from a certain area, like a love story or whatnot? I think we have to really deep what a lot of the stories are about. Like Blue Story, when Blue Story came out, a lot of people were talking about it as a gang film, as a problem and whatnot. Blue Story for me is one of the best films I've ever seen, and is one of the most anti kind of gang films I've ever really seen. If you look at it at this point of view, it shows you why it's like a blueprint of why young people get into gangs and do these things. Like how the media are talking about black people and everyone's just always killing each other. It's showing you that at the start, that's not what happens. They're just normal kids. They just like, girls, they like playing football. They just like doing things like kids. And things happen in that area that turns people out, that puts people on the road and puts people on that path. So I feel like Blue Story should be getting played in prisons. I feel like it should be getting played everywhere, because it's the type of film that will really make you think, innit? Because after watching that film, I'm not in a gang, innit? But after watching that film, I thought, I'm not getting in no gang. It touches on everything, mental health. It touches on what was it? Michael Ward, like his character, and then it's been passed down by his brother. And then when his brother was shot and he was in a wheelchair, his older cousin or older brother, I think it was his older cousin, came in and said, oh yeah, I should have never got you involved in this gang. So it just shows that it's a repetitive cycle that we need to try and break. You know what I mean? That's why I talk about the British media and how they talk about, black youths in this country and it's all killing and whatnot. But, they don't talk about the government when over the past decade, 70% of youth services have been cut in the UK. They don't talk about 40% of the poorest households in this country are black. They don't talk about these things. And then you got things like Kidulthood. When Kidulthood, was Kidulthood really a gang film? I feel like Kidulthood was just an experience in school. Kidulthood was everyone's experience in school. That was talking about bullying. That was talking about people getting pregnant. It was just. I feel like these films are a reflection of what life is. For not everyone, but for a lot of people, it's a reflection of what life is like. But these films kind of have to happen for the other things to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, if it wasn't a break back in 2010 around those times with those films, then you might have a lot more films like that that are different. But there are still films out there like Fast Girls. I don't know if you remember Fast Girls. It was like a film about a black runner, and it had Noel Clarke in it. You know, there's a lot of films out there, but I feel like a lot of people like to focus on the ones that they want to call gang films. And then I feel like that's what the media try and do. You know, that's what the media try and do, and then a lot of people pick up on it. But I think, of course, we want to create all different kinds of films. But so I'm rambling on, but I just feel like when Peaky Blinders comes out, it's not a gang film. It's a historical great film. When Scarface is out, bruv, if Scarface doesn't talk about violence, you know, Scarface, but no, people don't talk about Scarface or The Godfather and things like that. And it feels like that's what's happening in the UK, because I imagine when I wasn't alive when Boys in the Hood came out, but I imagine when Boys in the Hood came out, a lot of people were just moving a bit mad, like this is a gang film and whatnot. But now, 30 years on, it's a cultural great film. And that's what's going to happen with films like Blue Story and Kidulthood, Top Boy, all of these films. I can see it now in like 20 years. In 20 years' time, they're going to be saying it's a great film in that sense. It's like with drill music. People, not too long ago, people were talking about banning drill music because of the lyrics and whatnot. But they were saying the same thing about NWA back in the early 90s, late 80s. The FBI were getting on NWA. And in 30 years' time, as we are now, NWA are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I feel like time will tell with a lot of these factors. But the media, like I said, the media just has a part to play with all of it, man.
100%, bro. Like great points, man. Like I'm glad you said what you said there, because I even flicked the switch in my head, bro. Like I hadn't even thought. Like I'm a big fan of Kidulthood. Yeah, man. That's you know, all sorts of themes are in there. Yeah, bullying at school, mental health, like all sorts. Yeah, it's easy to forget that actually in some of these films, it's not all just about the gang and the crime. It's like, yo, we're tapping into little pockets of other things within these films, and that's you know, big respect to the artists and creators for doing that, man, because it's not easy. And yeah, it's not. I think at face value, people just think, oh, that's something, and not give it the time of day. And you know, even things like Boys in the Hood and stuff, there's all sorts of layers in those films, man. So yeah, no, big ups for spelling that out like that. But yeah, man, thank you for talking to me today, man. Like as always, man, it's a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to fucking seeing you in person, bro, man. What's going on?
Time, innit? It's time. It's been ages, bro. It's been ages. But quickly, just got to say, if people like these paintings, these pictures at the back, obviously they're my sisters. Get at Designs by Abby. I think I said that right. Designs by Abby on Instagram. You know, she got loads of these. She got loads of different ones. She got everything. Yeah, I mean, I know people have been watching that thinking, wow, what's that? That's what it is. It's just like a plug it, innit?
Oh, that's sick, man. Yeah, what can we find out on social media? What's the handle?
Media, Designs by Abby. At Designs by Abby. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, get out that, man.
Cool, man. They're wavy. All right, big ups, man. Thank you so much for talking to me. Yeah, enjoy the rest of the day, bro.
Bless you too, bro.
Bless up.